I know I am 2 months late to this subject, but I just want to knock it straight out of the way since it's one of the things on my list that I have to knock out. But anyway, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man Season 1. Since the time that has passed, since everything's been coming out, Invincible Season 3, Daredevil Born Again, I decided I wanted to finish the second half of this Season 1. So I was able to, and here's my review of all 5 episodes joined into one video right now. I'll cover each episode, basically reviewing through them, and by the end of this video, I'll give a final rating to this season, and I will tell y'all my personal word and see if I should recommend this Spider-Man series to y'all or not. Before I get into reviewing this show, make sure to like and subscribe, so that's why y'all will be notified for any other movie or TV show reviews I do. And with all that out of the way, it's time to get into episode 6, A Duel with the Devil. Episode 6 takes a chill day for Peter as he has no antagonist to fight, and all this episode does is really try to get Peter to get Miko and Harry Osborn to be more connected as friends, which I like that for him. He's trying to create a sort of friend group for him instead, so he has someone outside of school and people that he loves and cares about. Meanwhile, Peter and his friends are hanging out at his house. Norman Osborn is at a meeting with a bunch of high-powered people. And also, at the time that this episode aired, I'm pretty sure they put Secretary Ross just in time to probably hint at Captain America 4 being released at the time. So I thought it was pretty cool that they did that. But anyway, meanwhile, while Norman is at a meeting or a charity event, someone is breaking into Oscorp, and Peter has to stop it, but it intervenes with him trying to spend time with his friend. And it sucks because he really saw that Miko and Harry were starting to get along, and I really wanted it to be a good night for Peter. But when he goes to Oscorp, let's just say we get the most surprise cameo out of all. I mean, we knew it was gonna happen, but like I'm just glad that the man himself came back for his role. It is none other than Daredevil breaking into Oscorp, and I am so glad they're able to get Charlie Cox back just to voice him in this specific role, because I know that the Netflix show was like gone for like 5 years, and so far Charlie's been good at coming back for his role as Daredevil, and it's a good way to put Daredevil in small side projects right before he gets his own solo show in the MCU, Daredevil Born Again. So I'm just happy for that man. And so far, his design of the show is pretty good as well. And his action scenes were pretty cool as well. I like the way he utilized his Billy Club more than he did in the Netflix show. And also, he packs up Peter really, really quick. Not quick, but Peter does put up a good fight. But he packs up Peter by towards the end. And I'm really surprised how Peter didn't have Spider Sense, or how the whole time he was holding back against Daredevil. I also like the design of Daredevil's costume in this too, although it's just a black suit, and that's like it's an alright suit towards me. I know it has like a lot of smoke and aura. It's not that perfect, but it was a pretty cool suit to see in this show, especially with the logo on his chest and the red eyes. So it was pretty cool. It was also pretty nice hearing the original Daredevil theme from the show. And it was a good way to know that, the people that made this show, they know the character, they know who he is, and I thought it was pretty well how they treated him in the show. But yeah, this episode was good at showcasing how basically Peter is not so much of a great fighter. Although he does deal with his antagonists and his villains pretty well, he's like not that much of a good fighter, and he holds back a lot. Mainly because he has immense strength, and literally he's not trying to hurt his villains on purpose. He's just trying to deal with his problems as friendly as he can. And that's literally the show's name, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. So I'm feeling that's like a good way to put that theme in your head. He's friendly. He doesn't try to hurt or take care of his villains in a ruthless way or violent. But overall, I thought this episode was cool. It does give us a little backdrop on Octavius, and it really adds more to his character. I mean, okay, the story of how, what's it called? Basically, Octavius is nothing without Osborn. We've seen it before. We've seen it before in the PS5 games. We've probably seen it before in other media. But overall, in this show, how they interpret it, it was pretty okay, I guess. I mean, we didn't see no flashbacks or anything. They do interact later on, but it was okay to show us like why Octavius is this way, why he's creating weapons for supervillains in New York. But the one thing that this episode did kind of like maybe disappointed was how Nico reacted to Peter being Spider-Man. Of course, Harry didn't think that Nico would have known, and they were getting bored and they needed something to talk about. So whenever she found out that Peter was Spider-Man, it just kind of like not disturbed me, but like it just didn't give me like a good vibe at all. I was really hoping that they would still be friends, but this show does like wrap up this sort of story, and it does like wrap up this conflict in later episode. It wraps it up pretty well, and I'm really happy what the show did with their relationship and how good of the strong friendship they have towards the end of season 1. One more thing good that this episode does is set up the storyline between Lonnie Lincoln's gang, the Scorpion's gang, the Scorpion himself, Matt Gargan, and Peter Parker. Because even though we've shown that Peter holds back a lot and doesn't really tend to fight well, it's going to be really difficult next episode when he's going to have to face off the Scorpion and also protect people in Lonnie Lincoln's gang. But yeah, that's all I have to say for episode 6, A Duel with the Devil. Now it's time for episode 7. Episode 7, Scorpion Rising, does a good job of showcasing Peter and Norman try to get to the bottom of the mystery of who's selling the weapons in New York. Lonnie Lincoln's street gang running into trouble with the Scorpion gang, and Harry Osborn and Miko Nomura trying to make up for what happened last episode and try to connect more as friends. First off, one part the episode does good with Peter and Norman trying to figure out who's selling the weapons is the use of the elements of this Marvel world. In the show, we've been seeing other heroes like Doctor Strange, Daredevil. We've been seeing other heroes, and we know that the show writers of this show really know how to use like the elements of this world that's supposedly the MCU. And in this episode, they really do by showcasing that gamma radiation is being used in the weapons that Dr. Octavius is selling. What you like that about that, since I know nothing else would basically explain what is like powering these weapons, and gamma radiation is just a good use of like a significant type of chemical that is used in the Marvel Universe, which I'm glad they're utilizing it, and all the stuff they can use in this show. Meanwhile, Peter and Norman are trying to find out where Otto Octavius' hideout is. Harry and Miko do end up forming a good friendship by the end of this episode. And I really like that for those two characters. Since they are two of Peter's closest friends, I really like how they're able to get along, but I still wish Miko could forgive Peter for keeping the secret. But Harry does bring up a good point in this episode, basically saying that Peter only kept it a secret because he's trying to protect his loved ones. Because, if his identity is revealed, then his enemies are going to come after his loved ones. So I really like that, because that's mainly in any, that whole theme of trying to protect your loved ones by keeping your secret identity from them and everyone else is pretty good, since it's presented throughout all of Spider-Man media. The Tom Holland movies, the Andrew Garfield movies, and even the Tobey Maguire movies. That's what makes Spider-Man such a good hero, but also with really complex problems between him, his inner self, and the struggle of just trying to be a hero and trying to look out for his personal life. And finally, one more thing about this episode to wrap it up before the main event happens. Pearl finally gets known the truth by Lonnie Lincoln's younger brother, Andre Lincoln. And it's kind of heartbreaking to see Pearl having to find out why Lonnie's been gone this whole time. And it's just it just hurts to see her come into where Lonnie has been this whole time and where his character has gone downhill from. And it was just such a good arc, and I'm finally glad that hopefully maybe Lonnie and Pearl can finally resolve their problems together, and hopefully they can reunite and they can restart their whole relationship. That's why Lonnie can, stop being in the 110th Street gang, and he can finally go on a better path to be a better man in the world of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. But when all things look good, something goes down. So after Peter and Norman find out, it's gamma radiation that he's using, and Pearl goes to the 110th hideout to go find Lonnie Lincoln, Matt Gargan pulls up in his new Scorpion armor, and oh my gosh, the design looks great already. I mean, I prefer the PS5. The PS5, it looks better, and it always will be better. But this design of Scorpion is alright. Although like the tail looks sick, and he pulls up not even like sparing mercy on some of the guys. He literally kills people in like not even the first minute of him pulling up. That's how you know the Scorpion variant is pretty cool, and he's pretty menacing. But overall, he was a good villain, and he put up a good fight against Lonnie Lincoln and the other members of this gang. Then once Spider-Man pulls up and he saves everyone, it's just him and Scorpion, and he does put up a good fight. Even though he's holding back and he's not using his full strength, he does put up a pretty good fight, and it's pretty good to see him like win a fight after, you know, losing to Daredevil last episode. So it was pretty refreshing, and I thought he was gonna resolve stuff pretty quickly, but to my surprise, he doesn't. And the way that Scorpion uses gamma radiation to get out of Spider-Man's webbing, it looked like it hurt, but it was so crucial just for him to get out that webbing and put a beat down of Spider-Man, since of how much Spider-Man was teasing him and how cocky he was to let Spider-Man win. But oh my gosh, the Scorpion just beat down Spider-Man in this moment so bad. Like, he actually, like, this is the first time I've probably seen Spider-Man beat brutally in a while. It hurt to watch on screen Norman focusing more on finding his old best friend just to arrest him than to focus on Peter while he is getting like literally brutally murdered by Scorpion. Or not murdered, but he's getting like beat up real bad to the point where Norman had to like send in a goblin guider just to pick up Peter, because no one was gonna pick him up himself, because oh my gosh, how dangerous Scorpion was. But anyway, so yeah, this episode ends up with Peter being beat really bad, and it shows that Peter is really not that strong when it comes to facing off really difficult foes like Scorpion. So yeah, overall episode 7 was really good. I thought it was a standout in the second half of season 1, and it really set up a good like challenge for Peter, and it was just wow, it was hard to watch, man. And it shows what the show can take, what level this show is gonna take, of how, like, you know, it's not afraid to take risks of death or blood. You know, the show, it's actually not all that bad, and this is what makes this show really good. But yeah, that's all I have to say about episode 7. Now time to episode 8. Episode 8 was a great break off of things, fresh from whenever Peter was beat, and this episode really shows him healing and getting a break after these past episodes have been really wild and crazy. And this episode kind of heals him and develops his character even more, but also shows some shady side to another character, and it just wraps up things like beautifully, and it gives Peter morals on what he needs to do to become a better hero than what he is already. But one spotlight this episode really does shine on is Norman Osborn, as this season he is a good mentor towards Peter, sort of replacement for Iron Man, and it really is a good mentor. He's supplying him with new suits, he's giving him the tech that he needs to be Spider-Man. But this episode really does, like, it gives him a vibe that just I don't like personally, because it makes him seem like, oh, this is the person he kind of is, the type of person to rival with any other better motives or morals that Peter does have on his own. But the morals that he does give Peter, they are good, don't get me wrong, but it just doesn't seem like in character for Peter. It doesn't seem in character for him, and it seems outright disturbing and flat out disrespectful to the Spider-Man moral code. With the quote being, "With great power comes great respect," which is basically a new take on the Uncle Ben quote. And it's a good quote, but it seems out of character for Peter. But then again, he needs to stop holding back, because if he keeps holding back, he's going to keep getting beat by Scorpion and any other villain that shows up in his life. So it kind of is a motivation for Peter to be a better hero than what he already is, instead of holding back a lot and letting his villains get the best of him. But this whole episode, Peter's had his personal life and his friends and family to cheer him up. Basically, he's trying to persuade Lincoln not to go after Gargan, and he cries to May about how he wants Uncle Ben back, and he has no one to turn to other than Norman and Harry Osborn. So it's pretty good to see that, him connecting with May, and them actually, having a moment together. Since Peter is barely with May in the show, and this is the first time they share a special moment. So I'm really glad for that. Unfortunately, in this episode, though, Pearl and Lincoln do split things off, but it's kind of sad to see, even though Lonnie Lincoln's trying to do the right thing and take down Matt Gargan. But it's probably dangerous for him since, he's just a human. He could die to Matt Gargan in this new Scorpion suit. But it's really sad to see them break off of things since they were a good couple at the beginning of this show. But yeah, it's pretty sad to see Pearl go through all this, and then Lincoln having to throw away his old life just to persuade his new life and try to take down a criminal in the city. Meanwhile, all this is happening. Otto Octavius does get taken up finally, and none other than Secretary Ross shows up to take up Octavius. And then another person shows up. A surprise. No one knew about this, so it's actually a good cameo. Iron Man does end up arresting Octavius, and he's being played by the same guy who voices him from What If. So it was pretty good to hear his voice, since his take on Iron Man is pretty good. Even though he gets it most from Robert Downey Jr., it's still a pretty good voice role for him. And the suit was okay too. It looked comic accurate and alright, decent suit. But yeah, that's what happens with Octavius in this episode. He basically goes away to jail, and his whole lab is being taken up. And then we also get another surprise cameo from the Chameleon, basically informing the 110th Street Gang on basically the tech is going to be taken up by the FBI and Oscorp, and so that's how they're going to get the tech to defeat Scorpion. So it was pretty cool seeing the Chameleon in this, even though he was in the past episodes before. It's good seeing him in that classic white mask. So yeah, that was pretty cool to see. And other than that, the last thing about this episode I have to say, it was good seeing Peter and Harry bond as best friends. And towards the end of this episode, we see that Harry actually got some Oscorp employees to finally make a red and blue classic suit for Peter. And it looks so good off of Peter's lenses once you finally see it. The mask and the colors look good, the webbing looks good, everything about this suit is great. And it's finally good to see Harry takes Peter's ideas and actually make him a real thing instead of forcing ideas like Norman was with this previous suits and the Oscorp suit. So it was pretty good seeing that. And this episode ends off with a good note, basically telling us that Peter's going to be coming back as Spider-Man, and things are going to be looking good in episode 9. So yeah, that's all I have to say about episode 8. Now on to episode 9. Episode 9, Hero Menace, really showcases Peter intertwining with the 110th Street Gang, stealing tech, and it all comes together to end off the Gargan storyline, and it showcases Peter back in action. So with the 110th being in danger from the Scorpions, they have to steal tech from Oscorp that they took away from Octavius so they can defend themselves against him. But of course Spider-Man comes and he tries to stop them from stealing a Oscorp van. But then the Scorpions pull up, and Matt Gargan is fully armored with a new mask, and he pulled up with his gang too. So now everyone is there at one place at one time. And Peter's scared again. He hesitates to fight with them. Since, this is the same man that made him bleed earlier. This is the same man that could have killed him last couple episodes ago. But then Big Donovan and Scorpion fight first, and Big Donovan is easily scared by this new Scorpion, this new Matt Gargan. So he runs away, and Lonnie takes up the mantle to run the 110th Street Gang instead of Big Donovan, since he ran away. But Spider-Man's not like that, so he braves up, he mans up, and he fights the Scorpion again. And this time, he doesn't hold back. He actually tries to put up a good fight against the Scorpion instead of letting him win just like last time. In order to Lonnie to put up a fight so he can stop the Scorpions once and for all, he gets exposed to some chemical inside an Oscorp van, which you think that'd be a bad thing, but no, it doesn't alter his identity, and instead he comes out the van an all new person. Lonnie now has super durability, and he has super strength. So now Lonnie is officially turning his side into the Tombstone. And since they were sort of friends at school, it is nice to see Spider-Man and Lonnie working together to take down Scorpion, which even though Lonnie doesn't know it, Peter knows that it's good to see his friend from school who was bad earlier now working together to take down Scorpion. And they had a good fight against Scorpion. It was pretty good to see them working together, and they did put up a good fight against Scorpion, and they eventually got him too. Till then, in one devastating moment, Scorpion eventually piles Lonnie under some rubble, and it really pisses off Peter. Of course, Lonnie's not dead because he has a bunch of durability, but since Peter doesn't know this now, he actually locks in. He's done holding back. He's done using his full strength, and he absolutely beats Scorpion up. And this is the point where he could have killed him, really. And he beat up Scorpion so bad, when he landed the first hit, he took off his mask so quick. And Peter, in this moment, he was actually terrifying. He actually stopped talking, and he actually locked in and took Norman's advice, and he tried to kill Mike Gargan in this moment. It's to the point where it scared all the people to the sidelines. It scared them because of how scary Peter was in this straight moment. All because he stopped holding back and he tried to kill Matt Gargan. Before Peter kills Matt Gargan, Lonnie Lincoln in a quick act of heroism stops him and prevents him from killing Matt Gargan, which shows that if you really do have enough crazy power and you stop holding back one day, you're always going to need someone to prevent you from doing something crazy like killing someone. And that shows like how crazy someone can be with a lot of power if they just one day snap and stop holding back. But yeah, Lonnie stops Peter, and then Matt Gargan is taken away to prison like all the other villains this season. And to the sidelines, Nico was watching the fight as well. And whenever Nico and Spider-Man finally go to an alleyway, they finally wrap things up between their conflict. And Nico realizes why it's dangerous for Peter to reveal her identity to her. And she finally accepts his apology, and they finally make up. And that shows how good of a friendship they have and how strong their friendship is. And it was really good to see them finally, be friends again. And it's glad to see that Peter, Nico, and Harry could all be a friend group now that they wrap things up between all three of them. So it was really good to see, and I'm glad that episode wrapped things up with that. Finally, one more thing about this episode, Norman Osborn. Now, in this episode, he visits Otto Octavius in jail, and he basically just flexes and gloats on how he stole all his tech, and Octavius is pissed, and he cannot wait to get out of jail in just a second just to kill Norman Osborn. But then, towards the end of this episode, something heartbreaking is revealed. Apparently, whenever Peter was brought in after he got beat by the Scorpion, they took his blood, and now they're gonna try to recreate a bunch of radioactive spiders just so they can make 1,000 of Spider-Mans. And it really frustrated me because in the show, it seemed like Norman Osborn was on the path to be a good character. He already was a good mentor, but now he's using Spider-Man's blood without him knowing just so they can create a bunch of different Spider-Man, which is just really frustrated me. But I mean, I guess Norman Osborn in every universe is not good. But then it just makes me think in future seasons, I wonder when Peter finds out, he's going to be really mad. Because then, they're going to have a big conflict over again. So it's really going to be good to see that future storyline in future seasons. But yeah, that's the wrap all of this episode up. Episode 9, Hero Menace, is really good at wrapping up all the storylines, and just in time for the finale episode. So let's move on right to the finale episode, and then my final thought of the show. Episode 10, If This Be My Destiny, is a great finale just to wrap things up in Season 1, basically exploiting Norman in this episode, and a team up between Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. So for over the season, Norman gave Peter an internship, which basically with a bunch of other young geniuses, and it's an internship just to see how smart they are, right? Well, wrong. Apparently, in the season finale, it's revealed that this internship is to bring all their good inventions together, just so they can make a gateway to space, which is obviously bad and alarming. So it alarms Doctor Strange, who pulls up and tries to stop this gateway to space from opening. But since we saw Norman's true colors in last episode, he doesn't hesitate and he opens the gateway to space without listening to Doctor Strange, and also blaming Doctor Strange as he's like a vigilante, and he is blaming him for all the destruction in the city with no rethinking of what happened. Peter is alarmed as well, so then he has to suit up later on, and then he has to help Doctor Strange close the gateway to space. Since, Peter's alarmed as well. He doesn't want to open this dangerous gateway to space to see whatever comes out. And basically, they team up to destroy it, but then out of the portal comes the same symbiote alien bug thingy from the first episode. And as they get into a huge brawl while Peter's trying to disconnect the thingy, Doctor Strange is fighting the alien bug thingy. But whenever the alien symbiote messes with the time stone, then all of a sudden they go back in time, but with a green portal. And out the green portal comes a radioactive spider. And the bug thingy and Doctor Strange continue to fight, which, yes, this whole show is basically an infinite loop, and it basically takes us back to the first episode where the spider bites Peter as he watches Doctor Strange fight the symbiote. And it is so well how they introduce that concept into the show. And I like what they're doing with this whole loop thingy, because it's honestly like it's a great story point for like so much other pieces of fiction. It's actually really surprising to see that this whole show is just one big loop with, Doctor Strange going back in time with the symbiote and spider, and then it just confuses me, what would happen if they never went back in time? Would Spider-Man not exist? Or would this interaction with him, the symbiote, and Doctor Strange not exist? It just really confuses me. But yeah, at the end of the day, they eventually do close a gateway to space and portal in time. And Oscorp is now under a bunch of stuff, because now they are being harassed and flamed at just because they exploited young geniuses and tried to open a gateway to space without people's permission. So then Harry comes up with a bright idea to start its own business called Web, where him, Harry, and a bunch of other characters significant in this universe all get an invitation to join so that they can, make their own business without being exploited like Norman was doing. And I really like that with Harry being able to help out this season, and it sets up next season with what they're going to do, introducing a bunch of new characters and a bunch of new stories. And this season does that exactly well. At the end of the season, we get a montage of this, them showcasing different stories, like Lonnie running the 110th now, and he's becoming gray, just like his comic accurate appearance. Jean was an undercover hero named Finis, and yes, she was working alongside Daredevil, which was really cool to see. So maybe they'll come back for season 2 with a different storyline. And then we also see Octavius in jail with arms drawing, thinking that next season maybe he'll get the octopus arms on his back, or maybe for season 3. And finally, to wrap up this entire show, we get Aunt May finally having a significant part in this story. She goes to prison and she talks to none other than Richard Parker, Peter Parker's dad. And somehow he is still alive, just like how in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 movie, it seems like Richard Parker was still alive by the end of it. But no, in this show, he is officially alive and breathing. So I think they're going to connect that. They're going to make a story out of that in season 2. And we'll see where it goes. Maybe Richard Parker was a secret villain or something. So maybe they'll do that with him in season 2. But yeah, If This Be My Destiny, episode 10, was really, really good at wrapping the show up. And now here's my final thought of the show and my summary, and if it is good or not, if Marvel is back. Since this is the first Marvel project of 2025, I'm gonna debate whether Marvel is back or not. The final thought of this show. Man, the long way we've been with this show. 4 months now? Since, it took me long to record and edit all this to review it. Anyway, off track. This show really, really accomplished something very well that it was trying to do. It was trying to tell a Spider-Man story, but maybe different from, the movies, because the movies are limited very, very like heavily. Like, yo, you can't use this character, you can't use this character. You gotta follow this story that the studio wants you to follow. This show, it was able to tell its own Spider-Man story and go nuts with it and be able to do whatever they want to do with it, and they accomplished that because the story in here is very good, as you can clearly understand it and follow it, and it feels like comic book accurate, and it actually feels like amazing to watch. This show is spectacular to watch, in my opinion, because of like how much they done with the show, how much cameos they put in the show, or how much like effort they put into the show. And the show is really good, even though there is some problems like, oh, it's too woke, or oh, it's too like corny. It's not that bad, to be honest. Like, at first it's woke and corny, but as the show passes on and how much it matures up, the show actually gets better as you watch it. And like literally, it's like a top 5 Spider-Man project in my opinion, just because of how good they handled Peter's character and all the other characters, the supporting characters, the villains, so, and the future stories too. I can't wait to see what they're gonna do for season 2. And with it already getting renewed for season 3, and this being Marvel's first project in 2025, I'm very impressed with what they did. And I really hope that with how this story ended and how, like, you know, this character might be significant later, I really hope he does play a later role in like the upcoming Avengers movie, since, you know, they're going to feature animated characters as well. So it'd be cool to see if your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man in those. But yeah, so far season 1 was pretty good, and it really blew me away. So I'm gonna have to give season 1. It's really hard for me to think. I'm giving Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man season 1 an 8.5 out of 10. Yes, the show is that good. Yes, everything they did with it was really good. There's nothing that can convince me otherwise. But yeah, so I would probably recommend this show to, you know, people who want a fresh Spider-Man story. They don't want the same thing that they kept repeating with Tom's story, Andrew Garfield's story, Tobey Maguire's story. You want something new, you want something refreshing, you want something consistent that's always going to keep you on edge. So Spider-Man, Your Friendly Neighborhood, it was pretty good, and I'd probably recommend to every Spider-Man fan out there. This is top tier Spider-Man content, and I'm so glad they were able to accomplish this, and there's more to come. But yeah, that's all I have to say for Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man season 1. It's been fun making these videos. I love Spider-Man a lot. He's like one of my favorite heroes. So it's pretty good to just, you know, get on here and talk about him. So unfortunately, it's time to see him go and move on to other things that I have to make videos about. But yeah, that's all I have to say about the show. Otherwise, to get it short, the show's fantastic. Alright, this has been Jacob_114, and I will see y'all in the next video. Goodbye, everybody.